I am the pool.
Oh, you are the pool.
Oh, okay.
So they will get it if you give us something in Spanish.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited today for two things specifically. One is to be able to come up with a different project that will serve those individuals that were selected under the Uplift Harris program that got caught in the courts under state attacks. And the other point is the opportunity to take to the voters an option to really get out of that continuous deficit that Harris County is facing because of decisions made a few years back. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Can we start with that? So the potential for a property tax increase, what could that mean for people across our county? What could that mean when it comes to how it would benefit and, you know, the concerns that maybe people are going to have when they see, man, more money?
It's a tough choice. It's a tough choice for us to make. It's a tough choice for the voters to make. And that's why I want to see what the voters think. So as we know, so much of this, pretty much everything that's coming to the ballot was out of our hands. It's about decisions that were made decades ago about not investing enough in flood infrastructure. We all know that happened and that we're having to pay for it now. And so as it turns out, the budget to maintain our flood infrastructure has remained completely flat, whereas the amount of infrastructure available has thankfully grown due to our investments. Of course, we continue to need more. So we are desperately needing that funding to maintain the existing flood infrastructure. I know a lot of people are very frustrated about how we're not cleaning the bayous often enough, how there's debris, what about this drain, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what this money would do. It would put all of our flood controls infrastructure on a 67-year maintenance cycle, which is basically making it sustainable. We didn't choose to be in this situation, we as the voters, the people of Harris County, but you can vote to have that dealt with. The other point is on the Harris County General Fund. So for many years in Harris County, before I took office, 2018 and going back several years, under Republican conservative leadership, the tax rate was always the same. Always the same, 0.34 something. After I took office, that tax rate actually got lower. Then in 2022, and you guys will remember this, we were proposing $100 million for pay increases for law enforcement, and it was an election year, and some colleagues forced us to drop the tax rate precipitously so that we end up at a deficit. What we're proposing to voters is for them to support a tax rate lower but closer to what it was before I took office. So lower, even lower than it was in 2018, but something that is manageable. And what this will do is it will make sure that we don't have to keep cutting the basic programs that the people of Harris County have come to expect. Right now we're cutting $21 million across the board this cycle because we're at a deficit because of the decision made in 2022 when I was up for election. Some folks were playing politics. We just had a leader with the deputies organization visit us about the need for increased pay for law enforcement. We can't afford that unless we're able to have adequate revenue. There are many programs that we funded with our American Rescue Plan dollars, $1 billion. That billion has been allocated, it's not coming again. And so whether it be additional investments in veteran services, in domestic violence programming, in you name it, we don't have the funding to continue with the vast majority of that. Actually, the funding is going to be reduced per person. And so that's another choice for the voters. It's a pay for it now or pay for it later situation. The folks many years ago decided to pay for it later, and so we're saddled with it. And I don't think that they gave the opportunity for the voters to decide. And so I want to say, you know what, let me give you the option of deciding to invest in a sustainable county apparatus. And if the voters don't think that that is something they can do right now, then that's totally understandable. But of course the tax rate would be, I think, lower than it was during COVID, certainly lower than it was under my predecessor. I acknowledge property values have gone up, and obviously that's the challenge there.
Uplift Harris, obviously blocked by Supreme Court earlier this week. I know the county attorney talked a little bit about his disappointment in a statement. How do you feel about it, and what is the game plan moving forward?
I'm trying to contain my excitement because we're just not at a time to claim victory, and I really want to pass on that sense to the folks that have been on this roller coaster about, they are going to get the funds, they're not going to get the funds. Right now, we are in a situation where we're building a new program. It will be a little bit more restrictive than what we wanted in the Uplift Harris program, but we believe that this is totally foolproof in a court at law. Of course, the courts are politically elected as well, so we can't count on that, but from a legal standpoint, we think it's even more ironclad than the previous one. So we'll see. I'm excited we're voting for it, and now we just need to see, what does the state do, what do the courts do? If it all goes as we hope, and we've certainly designed it so that it will, then we'll be able to provide the folks that had qualified for the program with some cards with the payments and much more restrictive potential uses.
You mentioned there's going to be a vote. When could we see that? And then when you say restricted on the uses, are the number of people receiving these funds restricted, or just the way in which they can use the funds is what could be restricted?
So the vote happened already. Yeah. So we already voted. So I was getting the tenses wrong there. So we already voted, and we voted to create this new program. And so what it'll do is, before you could receive a deposit to your account, or you could receive a card, and you could spend it on whatever you wanted. And that's the spirit of a guaranteed income program. It has that dignity component to it, that we don't feel like, okay, if you decided to buy something that was fun, then no, you can't have a TV because you need to spend all your money on food, and maybe you just never had one and you have kids. And so the point is, we're not going to be able to do that anymore. We're saying that you're going to receive a card, it's going to be preloaded, and you're only going to be able to use it for, let's say, medicine, groceries, etc. So it very much tracks with what TANF does, something similar. And so that's not the spirit of the program, but we think it'll help nevertheless. And of course, we'll study it afterwards, and that's what we hope to do with the first one, is just study it and see what people do spend it on, and does it help their overall financial situation, which obviously helps the general financial situation of the area and the county. Español?
This will be called the Uplift Harris. When can people expect a direct, update on this?
So and thank you for asking about the timeline. So folks would not get the deposit until 4 months from now, because it just takes that long for the program to be established and all the logistics to be worked out. As far as the name, we're still workshopping it, and so we'll find out about that soon. But right now, it's a matter of, this is the very best we can do. We're giving it one more shot. We want to keep our promise to these families, and if it gets caught up in the courts, there's just nothing we can do about that. And if it doesn't, then we will see those disbursements in around 4 months. Español.
Can I
Yeah.
ask one more quick
Sí.
question? This is about Daryl Blackburn, the county employee that was charged in relation to 2022 with the paper ballots. Any comment about that?
I've learned, I made this decision years back, not to comment on elections-related things, especially my cycle's about to start. So I'm afraid on that one I'm going to have to pass. ¿Español?
Please.
Okay. Okay. Hemos ya votado para apoyar un programa distinto al programa Uplift, pero que realmente ayuda a esas mismas familias. No quiero que todos tengamos la esperanza de que ya se solucionó el problema. La realidad es que este programa va a otorgar los fondos a las mismas familias que fueron seleccionadas antes, pero en lugar de permitirles utilizar los fondos en cualquier cosa, van a tener que utilizarlos solamente, por decir, en una farmacia, en un supermercado, etcétera. Está bien que el programa sea así, es un programa nuevo. Esto realmente no sigue el modelo de fondos garantizados que ha sido evaluado alrededor del mundo, alrededor del país, pero queremos mantener esa promesa que le hicimos a tantas familias. Entonces, ¿en qué vamos? Bueno, estamos estableciendo este nuevo programa, tarda 4 meses en empezar a operar, y a menos de que nuevamente el programa quede atascado en las cortes. Entonces, este es nuestro último esfuerzo, queremos realmente cumplir esa promesa y vamos a ver en qué queda. Lo hemos diseñado de tal manera que realmente no hay un argumento legal, pero obviamente los jueces son elegidos políticamente también. La otra cosa que estamos trabajando son 2 propuestas para las elecciones. Una propuesta para poder mantener la infraestructura de control de inundaciones. Como saben, por muchas décadas no ha habido suficiente inversión en el control de inundaciones, entonces hoy día estamos teniendo que enfrentar ese tema. La cantidad de fondos que se utilizan para mantener esa infraestructura, es decir, limpiar los bayús, los canales, que no se atasquen, que no hayan ramas, etcétera, esos fondos han sido consistentemente lo mismo, pero la cantidad de infraestructura obviamente ha venido creciendo. Es por eso que tantas familias se quejan con razón que no estamos limpiando los bayús, que no los estamos manteniendo, que no se está cortando el pasto, etcétera. Entonces, los fondos, esta es una propuesta para las elecciones para poder invertir en eso. La parte 2 es que los impuestos del condado Harris no han podido cubrir lo que se necesita para servicios básicos por una decisión que fue tomada hace unos años. Cortamos drásticamente todo y hoy día no nos alcanza para subirle el salario a los policías, para continuar ciertos programas contra la violencia doméstica, ciertos programas para veteranos. Entonces, la idea es preguntarle a los votantes si les gustaría invertir en más control de inundaciones y en un estándar de servicios del condado. Si no, el condado va a seguir en déficit y el control de inundaciones pues no va a ser el mismo. Pero yo entiendo que los impuestos son altos, entonces por eso queremos es ponérselo eso a los votantes y que ustedes nos digan qué es lo que prefieren.